Hey, you all, just wanted to say this really quick because as it came to my mind this morning, as you know, spend time with the Lord, and it's like I just ask Him to like lead and guide, like to help me to be sensitive to anything I need to stay on a little bit longer, or what I need to transition to, whatever it might be. And as I finished, the time that I spend just sitting and in the Word, my notebook, and the Bible and all these things, I transitioned to then getting ready for work this morning. And as I went to transition, I played on my phone the Bible app, John chapter 3, and he just was highlighting things out of this for me. And it's like, okay, so then as I'm on my way to the store now, I'm listening to a message. And in this message, the person speaking starts to bring up how they came to what they're about to tell us about and telling us about their day. And so it reminded me of what I wanted to tell you now. And just seeing like the correlation between, or the consistency in the things that God does and how He communicates with us. And I asked Him to keep me full and keep me full of joy, like help me to really flow in what He's already given me, and how He just carries us throughout the day if we give Him a chance. And so He hasn't stopped. As I was playing John chapter 3, then I went on to John chapter 4 up into 5, but I kept rewinding it back to chapter 3 and just playing it over. And then as I went into chapter 4, I was reminded, of course, of the story of the woman at the well. And as I'm listening to it, I felt like looking up this portion of the story enacted on the series called The Chosen. And I remember a time where when I saw this, someone else presented it to me a while ago, because I don't watch the series, regularly, but I've seen this clip probably earlier this year. And so I went back to watch it, and then now that just was the continuation of this communication with God, which is something that the lady was talking about, who was, delivering the message that I was listening to just a moment before this. But what I wanted to say as well was that that I thought about how individuals that are in opposition to the gospel message, maybe individuals of another religion, and I thought about this and how in this particular, I guess, as story, this depiction of the story of the woman at the well, watching this clip from The Chosen, the lady, one of the things that stood out is how negative she was towards Jesus, and how that didn't faze Jesus. Like, she was aggressive, she was accusing Him of things, making assumptions about why He was saying what He was saying and what He was bringing to her attention. And this reminded me of people that are aggressively against the gospel message, and how because of Jesus, I have this ability to not allow it to then cause me to become defensive or negative towards someone who might present, hatred or disbelief or negative response in regards to the gospel. And this is what was being shown in The Chosen, and what it came back, to mind with me, is that a person, we will be negative towards something because of how we perceive it. Like, if I believe that my phone is dangerous, or if I believe that water is not good for, filtered water, good water is not good for me, or if I believe whatever I believe, that's going to affect how I respond to something. And just wanted to speak to maybe those that are in opposition to the gospel message because of how they were brought up, because of what you believe. And I want to ask you and challenge you, really stop and consider why you're responding the way that you're responding. You see, the lady in the clip from The Chosen, she was responding that way because, for one, she was hurt. She assumed that Jesus was bringing about these things about her past because He wanted to treat her the way other people had treated her. She assumed that God hadn't done anything in her life, and that God couldn't do anything in her life. That was because of her experience and what she thought, what she assumed, the condemning voices that she heard. And so I just want to present this to you all, is that God is not the one doing the condemning. And challenge yourself to ask the question, why are you in opposition to the gospel message? What is it that you're believing that causes you to think negatively about what someone might present in front of you? I remember when I would see certain pastors, even I remember seeing my current senior pastor, that he had, his show was on KCAL 9 at one point. And I remember seeing the show, and like when it comes on, it says some words, and then it says Answers with Bayless Conley. And the show is called Answers, with Bayless Conley. And I remember saying to myself, answers to what? Now, the thing is that I didn't know Jesus. I was just like, answers to what? And after I got saved, the Lord reminded me of that. And just how ironic that was, because I needed answers. I was in such a dark place. I needed answers. But I said, answers to what? And I turned the channel. I remember another preacher that God used shortly after I got saved to help deliver me from fear, to teach me about fear and how it had affected my life and the spirit of fear. And so I remember I saw this particular preacher, and I remember saying to myself, "Ooh, he's so arrogant," and I turned the channel. But the Lord ended up using this person, a series that they had did about fear, to teach me about the importance of fear and what the enemy had done in my life. But because of whatever reason, what was on the inside of me, I was in opposition to it. And I'm so grateful that I can remember the way that I felt and the things that I experienced and thought, because it helps me to have grace with other people. And that's one of the things that God does, is that he heals you so much to the point to where he heals you so good that you don't have the sting from what it is that you went through, and so that you can remember and relate and have compassion to other people. And so you guys, just wanted to share, I was just thinking about that with you all, if there's something that you're in opposition to, even if it's like fitness, I might say, you know what, you should stop eating sugar, and you're offended. Like, ask yourself, why does that irritate you? If I say, you know what, just stick with whole food, and you get irritated. Or if I say, you should take a break from drinking alcohol, or you shouldn't drink alcohol, and you get offended. You got to ask yourself, why are you offended by that? And I'm telling you, I have compassion for being in situations and not being able to see the opportunity or the way out. And I know there's things that God is showing me now that trying to bring me out of or teach me how to do that are difficult just because of what I believe. And so we're all going through that with some extent. But when it comes to the gospel and your eternity and your purpose here on earth, definitely take a chance to see, okay, well, I know that's not what I believe, or I know what I've heard, or whatever it might be, or my parents taught me this way. I just want to challenge you. Pause for a second and ask yourself, why are you opposed? Do you experience negative emotions, or do you have an abrupt response in opposition to it? Take a second. Challenge God. This is how I came into interaction or relationship with God. My first quote unquote real prayer, I have to say, and I say quote unquote real prayer because I prayed many times, but there was something different in this prayer that I prayed. It almost sounded like more of a threat. Like, I told God, if you don't do something, I'm going to end it all. And he was like, no, you're not into nothing. And I'm laughing because of now how I saw how he set up circumstances so I can get saved. That's why I'm laughing. God is not laughing or making fun of me. I'm laughing just because of how I said this preacher is arrogant in turn. And I said about my now pastor, his broadcast, answers to what? And so you all just take a chance to ask God, okay, I don't believe in none of this stuff. It doesn't make sense to me. This is how it was for me. I didn't believe in none of it. I mean, if you even knew how I was raised, I didn't want anything to do with the concept of Jesus or Christianity. But man, when you have an encounter, like what can you do when a miracle happens? What can you do when what you thought was Disneyland and Mickey Mouse does something that you needed for so long and keeps working in you and working on you? So you all, just wanted to share that today. Take that chance to believe. Just take a chance to taste and see that Jesus is good, and you definitely won't regret it. All right, you all. Talk to you later. I'll be back with some more fit tips.